Welcome back to Lost Legacies, a brand new season of Lost, everyone. We're back, and it feels good.
A Hidden City bookshop production.
Yeah, that too. I was going to get to that later.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's been a while, guys.
Wow.
If you... Did we record last week? No, right? This is...
No, we did.
What did we do last week?
We just talked about
our movies. We talked about the movies.
Yeah,
That's right. I was going to say, I feel
listen to
like
the show, Matt.
I feel like we just did this. I edit it. That is my listening. Okay, so we're back. We're back into our regularly scheduled program, I guess. But as always, we like to chat a little bit before we jump into Lost. The world has changed in the last week, Sam. We got some important things to talk about.
Uh-oh.
First off, Olivia Rodrigo has a new single.
Oh, gosh.
What are your thoughts on Vampire, Sam? I want to know. The world wants to know.
Song's fine. I like it.
Yeah, that's all right.
If you listen to it on its own, it's good.
Yeah.
Music video, very misleading. Not enough vampires. That's my
I thought it was like cool in the beginning because I'm like, okay, very vampire-esque, and then like the light hits her or whatever. I'm like, ooh, okay, this is taking a turn, and she's on stage. Okay, this is cool. But then it just goes nowhere. Like,
it just kind of goes nowhere. So I'm like, wait, what was the point?
Yeah, she starts running from the security and then supposedly flying off, like, but not really.
Yeah.
Like, we only have permission to go 5 or 10 feet, like what? Like, what happened? That just felt like it felt like a high school video. You know what I mean? Like something, a bunch of kids with a camera, just hey, we're just gonna do this. Like, we don't really have a plan or anything, which sucks because like the opening was pretty cool. I'm like, So.
Especially like all the teasing. Because like I know it was a big deal that like it's called Vampire.
Yeah.
And she released it on the anniversary of when the first Twilight movie came out, I think.
And there's almost cross promotion with Twilight. Like
yeah. And just the fact that like the whole opening feels like at least in part like feels like the first movie, but like then it just kind of fizzled out, and I'm like, oh, okay.
You know what that reminds me of?
What?
The song Vampire. I like, it's all right. It's not bad. It's no driver's license. But
True.
One, I don't know why I get so passionate about
Olivia Rodrigo
and her career, because most times I don't care about these pop stars. But you know what? I think I figured it out. And it was like right when driver's license came out, and I was reading an article about her, and they referred to her as like the modern Riot Girl. And I was like, it just rubbed me the wrong way. I'm like, I don't want to say she's not, but like, that's not what I really, think of when I think of Riot Girl. But, times change, whatever.
Yeah.
So
I think me and that publication have very different opinions about what a Riot Girl is.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. And that's kind of my thing too. Like her first album was okay. I dug it. It was a bop, but it was all just complaining about this one guy. I'm like, okay, she was what, 16, 17 when she wrote this. It makes sense. She's a kid. So I was really looking forward to a second album. I'm like, let's see where she goes, because I did like the music. I did I don't know, there's something about it that was inspiring, where I was like, I could hear this going more Riot Girl style, especially because I've been listening to a lot of that lately, just 2023, for whatever reason. I've been, not that I wasn't before, but it's just like more than anything else, I've been just listening to Riot Girl stuff. But I was like, maybe that is like her trajectory, or that is how she should go, because I think she has a voice for it. She has like the lyrics for it and the meaning. Like, I don't know. I think that would be cool. And then we got Vampire.
Yeah.
And it's like, and even then, like, if you take the lyrics from Vampire and just the overall meaning. Still complaining about a guy, but hey, to each their own. That's her thing, and she's sticking with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you're young and you're teenage, you can complain about that stuff because you're a kid. You don't really know better, and for you at that time, it means everything to you.
Mm-hmm.
I was hoping, okay, maybe she's a little further on now into her life's journey. Let's see what the second album is going to be. If it is also about being wronged by this guy, I hope there's more anger in it,
Mm-hmm.
because that's where we get into the Riot Girl territory. So I was like, okay, cool, cool. But Vampire somehow gets happy.
Mm.
Like, even like when the beat changes and it starts like really jamming out, I don't even know what to call it. Like, it's not rock, it's not punk,
Mm-hmm.
it's not pop rock. I don't know what it is, but like it just kind of threw me for a loop because it sounds too happy with what she's singing about, and I was
Mm.
just confused. I'm gonna take a leap here and just say I don't think I get Olivia Rodrigo.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know. I'll still check out her album though, August 30th, the new one,
Okay. Okay. So
right around
this
the
is
corner.
so this single just dropped and then
Yeah. Oh yeah, you got to
okay.
tease the album
Y-
coming up.
Yeah, yeah. Well, because like there's a lot of artists and stuff that are just going for the EPs now or releasing a single.
Exactly, and
Like,
I could talk for hours about that. So I am
mm,
glad that she's going with an album,
yeah,
and there wasn't really anything between the two. You know,
yeah. No, that's
I'm
true.
like, yeah, it's like,
Mm,
you know, I guess it depends. Like, if the song you want to share with the world doesn't fit on an album
mm-hmm,
thematically or just musically or whatever, like that makes sense. Drop an EP, drop a single. But like on the flip side, Dove Cameron, she's only singles, and I'm like,
mm,
damn. And for the most part, they're pretty good. Like I do enjoy it, but I'm like, put it on Spotify, and I'm done in like 10 minutes. I'm like, well, I gotta find something else to listen to now. You
mm-hmm,
know. So I don't know. I'm glad it's an album. We'll see. I'm hoping that maybe Vampire's just like this is the transition song to bring people back into this new album, and then she's gonna surprise us with something else.
mm.
I'll probably be wrong.
Well, we'll find out on August 30th.
August 30th. So, you know what else? I wouldn't say I was wrong about it, but I think the world is wrong about it.
Uh
Let's talk about Indiana Jones Dial Destiny.
oh.
I'm just gonna
Okay.
flat out say it. I don't think it's as bad as everyone's making it out to be.
Mm-hmm,
Um, it's just a lot of really sensitive, butthurt people out there. I don't think it
mm.
was that bad, but I still have a lot of thoughts. What were your opinions, Sam?
My opinions are I enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. It's weird because I did math. I did math for this. It was 19 years between Last Crusade and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Mm-hmm.
And it was 15 years between Kingdom of the Crystal Skull and Dial of Destiny.
That's wild.
I don't know why it took them this long. Like, and that was kind of my thing when Crystal Skull came out. He's like, whoa, like why did it take us so long to get here? You
Mm-hmm.
know? And yeah, now like I was just sitting down thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, like why did it take us so long to get here? Especially when it's like this is what we arrived at.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of feels like, like we either make this now or Harrison's not going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
That kind of feels like it. But you know what? Harrison Ford said he really enjoyed making it. He was happy with the movie. That's kind of all I have. That's the recommendation I have. I
Yeah.
have my gripes with the movie, less so with like the CG, the CGI, like all that stuff. I was
Yeah.
like it's for me. It was fine. Most
I
of it
feel like it
worked.
was a lot less CGI this go around than Crystal Skull.
I disagree.
Really?
Yeah. I disagree, especially like in some of those chase scenes.
Mm-hmm.
where it's like we gotta do like a close-up medium shot, of getting people's reaction doing stuff. You could really tell that, like, oh yeah, that's a green screen
Yeah.
right there, but that's not really my gripe. My gripe with this is the Nazis.
Mm.
Now, folks, we here at Lost Legacies, we are avid anti-Nazi. We hate
Mm-hmm.
Nazis. Indiana Jones punches them. Jack Kirby punched them. Uh, yeah. I don't think this movie was as damning of Nazis as it makes itself out to be. Because
Yeah.
I just went through and rewatched all the movies.
Mm-hmm.
And for at least 50% of the Indiana Jones movies before Dial of Destiny uh deal with Nazis. And the Nazis always get theirs. Yeah, they're, an overpowering force and they're always getting the upper hand and all this stuff. But usually they either have like pretty like comedic deaths or they're brutal deaths. And
Mm-hmm.
especially at the end when the villains, finally get theirs. Spoilers for the indie movies, but like then they open the Ark of the Covenant. They all get, their faces melted off and they
Yeah.
explode, all that stuff. Last Crusade, he Donovan isn't even a Nazi. He's just working with them, but just by
Mm-hmm.
association, he ages rapidly and feels it and then explodes to dust.
Mm-hmm.
This movie, I think the most brutal death was that one of the Nazis got chained underwater and drowned.
Yeah.
Like it was such a weird feeling going into this movie and having like people have a visceral reaction whenever Indiana Jones, the hero, calls the bad guy a Nazi. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that man's a Nazi, and everyone's like, oh, I don't know about that, Dr. Jones. Like, what?
Mm-hmm.
No, that's what it is. Um,
Well, okay, at that right there, I'm gonna say I think because that was, I as far as movies go, it felt weird, but I
mhm.
think historically speaking, that was probably more accurate. You know,
No, yeah, I agree. I agree. Um, and on that basis, yeah, fine. Like, I get
but
it. Like
even
this
then,
movie.
they didn't really go into it. And
Mhm,
one thing that really excited me about this was like, oh, okay, it's not about the space race, but it takes place at the same time in a world where NASA and the American government is working with quote unquote former Nazis.
mhm,
I think that's a great situation to throw Indy into because, and they even tease it. It was like in the description of the movie, he's going to find out how former they actually are.
mhm.
They didn't really address it. They
Yeah,
kind of just glossed over it, and I'm like,
they
oh,
kind of they sidestep that fact until like the third act starts, and they're like, nope, we're Nazis. And we're like, oh,
like
yeah,
we knew it the whole time, but it's
yeah.
like there would that connection with the American government, which was the most interesting part of it, Indy's own government, working with them. Like
Mhm.
they just sidestepped that completely. And yeah, I don't know.
Especially a government who like one movie previous was calling out Indy, for like, well,
Yeah.
you got caught up with the Soviets, so how do we know that you're actually
Hmm.
on the righteous path and all that? And I'm like, what?
And
Yeah.
I mean, it sucks because I feel like that's a very realistic thing though, because even in the originals, a little bit of American government we did get, they would work with Indy. They're the ones who would seek him out, like, hey, we need you to go find the Ark of the Covenant, blah blah blah. And if you look at Indy's history, including the novels, the books, and the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, he was in the military. He worked with the military. He was a spy. He was intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
So that sucks. It really sucks, and I wish they would have gone more into that. Instead, what it turned into is like a cranky old man movie.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of being like, what's my country come to? What are we doing? How can we be working with these people, it became more of like, oh, you damn hippies playing your music too loud. You know, it's just like it was so weird the route
Yeah.
they went, and I was just a little confused, like about why. You
Hmm.
know, and seeing that it is James Mangold, I was kind of expecting them to go a little darker. This went a little darker than I had hoped for, especially talking about the. I don't want to talk about spoilers here.
Yeah.
We've already kind of dropped some spoilers, but the third act, the final climax, I loved. A lot of people didn't, but I'm like, hey, this is Indiana Jones. It's all about cheesy, you know. Let's do it. I loved it. But Indy makes some interesting decisions that they weren't. It was never really. I'll just say this: there's no resolution. It kind of feels like there's no real like character arcs through this movie, because
Hmm.
even the character Helena Shaw, you know, I what's her name, Phoebe Waller Bridge,
Hmm.
is that her name? I like her. She was fantastic, but like I was hoping they were gonna turn the character into maybe like this kind of anti-hero. Nope, she's just bad. Like she's making all the baddie moves. I'm like, oh,
Hmm.
she's just in it for the money. They tease that like, oh, it's because you know this is all the stuff her dad was into, but they don't really go into that. You know,
Yeah.
Indy makes a really bold choice at the end of the movie, uh, but we sidestep it, and we don't really get any time to deal with that. And he really has no arc after that. So that's essentially how Indy leaves this franchise, with that decision, you know? And I'm like,
Hmm.
huh. So look, I know we're being kind of like very critical. It's just because we love Indy. It was still a fun movie. I think it's better than Crystal Skull. I'll still give it probably about 4 stars. I think that's a little generous, but it's because it's Indiana Jones, and I'm always gonna sit down for an indie movie.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I am kind of curious, like, what did the Spielberg script look like, and what could he have done with this script?
Yeah.
And Karen Allen has talked about it. She said she never got a script, but when Spielberg was in charge, it was always supposed to be an Indian Marion movie, which is
Mm.
really interesting because this film feels like an Indy Marion story, but Marion's not in it,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So, and when she is, it's just very little. So, yeah, like I don't know. I enjoyed it, but of course, I mean it's common sense. It's not going to hold a candle to the original trilogy, of course.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I still think the end of Last Crusade was the best, where he got
Yep.
to ride off into the sunset with his friends and
Hmm.
family. And yeah.
And just like you said, we were critical because we love indie, and more importantly, mom and dad loved the movie.
Oh yeah, yeah. I got to go see it. We got to go see it with mom and dad. Yeah.
Yeah, so
So
they love the movie,
that was
and
fun.
that's all that matters to me.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, interesting. Now, speaking of adventure, it's going to be really interesting to see which direction Lost goes, because season 4 was very much like an adventure season.
Hmm.
So, where are we going now? Well, I'll tell you, because we're talking about Lost season 5, episodes 1, Because You Left, and 2, The Lie. Jack and Ben begin their quest to assemble the Oceanic Six. Meanwhile, the survivors left behind on the island begin traveling through time. All right, dude, thoughts?
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah. I think this is going to be I think this is going to be the season where I can start seeing people's problems with
Mm-hmm.
Lost come in, like especially because everybody is always complaining about the end,
Yeah.
and even though this is the season before, I think this is doing a lot of setup for that. Just because this feels like heady science fiction,
Mm-hmm.
mixed in with your classic melodrama that Lost loves to bring us. But yeah, it's taking some interesting turns, especially like the whole first episode is, you know, kind of all about like, hey, get your head around this. We're traveling through time.
Yeah.
Kind of setting up some rules and like what's happening, like what's real, all of these things. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's a lot. Uh but I'm along for the ride, I'm
Hmm.
here. I was eating my sour Skittles and it's like, yeah, yeah, give me more.
You weren't eating your nerds clusters?
No, I was eating sour Skittles.
Dude, they're taking the world by storm.
Nerds clusters.
Yeah, going back to Olivia Rodrigo, she was in a video at some TikTok with some guy, and like she's eating nerds clusters. I'm like, Olivia Rodrigo, Kylie Jenner, Gwyneth Paltrow, Matt
Hmm.
Jimenez. Like, dude, like that's the way of the future. I'm just gonna eat that for my meals from now on.
Trailblazer. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I did it first. I did it first. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting, especially because like all the stuff off island, it just feels darker and grittier because we really see our heroes getting beat down. And then everything on the island just seems like, all right, man, we're skipping through time. What the heck is going on? It just feels like crazy. Like, what is this show doing?
Hmm.
Me, I'm like, this is a good thing. I really like this. So, but I can get where people kind of get thrown for a loop. It And I think we mentioned this a while back, but like it kind of did the Game of Thrones thing before Game of Thrones, where it's like Game of Thrones got people who really didn't care about fantasy into fantasy.
Hmm.
It like faked them into it. That's kind
Hmm.
of what Lost did. It was really presented as like this mysterious kind of supernatural, maybe horror kind of show. That's how it was presented, but it was slowly like baiting and switching people into like this science fiction, mystical, spiritual kind of adventure. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Hmm.
So, but now we're just like, okay, we've seen time travel before for several seasons, but now like, okay, we're all doing it, and the island's traveling through time. Yeah, it's crazy.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, but talk about a setup though with that opening scene because it was all like it had the record skipping.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man.
Yeah. And that's what Daniel, uses as his
Hmm.
analogy later on. It's like,
Hmm.
okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who's the doc? What's the doctor's name from
Is
that
it
opening?
Young? Is it Dr. Young?
I don't remember. I think the fake name was Candle, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm
Yeah.
Doctor Candle, but that wasn't his real name.
Hmm. Or
Um,
Yang. I think it was Yang.
I don't remember.
Okay.
But so that whole scene, it was just I was watching it. It felt kind of weird, and I made the note. I'm like, this is probably the weakest Lost opening of a season.
Hmm.
But it's just him, same thing, making breakfast, doing like that's a common thing. We've seen that before, several season openers, making
Hmm.
breakfast, getting your day ready, and then it's revealed, oh, okay, he's living on the island. This is back in Dharma days,
Hmm.
but then he goes down to the orchid or beneath the orchid,
Hmm.
and something's like eating up or melting the drill bits, and he's like, "There's a power source of unlimited power, blah blah blah." Like so we can blow it up. He's like, "No, if we even go 1 centimeter closer." What does he say? Something like, I don't even
God help
remember.
us all.
God help us all. But like, it was just so weird because he's like, we'll be able to manipulate time. And like the guy he's talking about is like the most blue collar worker guy ever. And he's like, right. Yeah. It was so weird. Even for Lost, I'm like, okay, like it was a little cheesy and not in a good way either.
Hmm.
But it's kind of saved by the end of the scene where it reveals that Faraday has been there the whole time.
Hmm.
And he's like, hear that guy? He says, talking about time travel. Crazy, right? And Faraday just has that look. He's like, yeah, crazy. Um, yeah, it just felt weird. It kind of felt off. It was like very underwhelming for the first scene of a lost season.
Hmm.
But I bring that up because that scene was actually added and filmed much later into the season.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so apparently the actual first scene, opening scene that they filmed for this episode, they use it later in the season. So we're gonna talk about it.
Ooh,
And like
dang.
I was like,
Now I want to
so
know.
yeah, I know. So I'm like, I'm glad I looked that up because I always do my research after I watch this. So I was like, oh, that's cool. Okay, it's gonna be interesting to see what scene that is. What scene was originally supposed to start the season?
Mhm.
Because none of that is addressed at all in these first two episodes. So
Yeah.
we know at some point Faraday's going to end up. I don't even know what year that was.
I don't know. It has to be like 70s, 80s, something. Because I think
Right?
that was, yeah, that was I think that was established as like the time that like Dharma was in like, well, this has to be like earlier because they're still building everything and they're
Yeah.
filming all the videotapes.
Yeah.
When we see Ben and his dad, like Dharma is already there and well established.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Interesting.
I will say it doesn't really get addressed, but I think like thematically, it kind of ties in with the last episode of season or the last scene in season two. Or let me take that back. It ties in thematically with the last scene in the second episode because a character is talking to Ben and
Oh.
they say the exact same thing, like, you can't if you can't do this, then God help us all. It's like,
Yeah.
okay. But especially if that's
Maybe
like your
that's just
two-part
like their
premiere, you know.
maybe that's like the mantra of their club. God help us all. It's like
Wow.
us walking around saying, "Hey Sam, get lost."
Oh geez.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
just walking around the office being like, get
Who
lost.
are those weirdos? Yeah, so this episode or these two episodes, they weren't a two-parter, but it really felt like it because, and I understand why they aired them back to back.
Hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. What do you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about the island first or off island?
Oh, yeah, let's talk about the island first.
Okay.
Yeah. Uh One, Sawyer shirtless through most of this whole thing.
Yeah, and barefoot,
And
which
barefoot.
he finally stepped on something and like got like a twig stabbed him. I'm like, I'm
Kill with
surprised
a
that hasn't
twig.
happened. It took 5 seasons for that to happen.
I know,
You
I
know?
know. Ooh, that's one of my biggest fears.
Yeah. Oh, it was good like makeup or
Hmm.
whatever effects they used because like you can see him pulling it out. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Speaking of
um
the budget this season, it's big. It's kind of
yeah.
big,
So
for network TV.
yeah, and speaking of things that make you go, ugh, familiar face showed up
Oh
this
God.
season.
As soon as I saw his face, I was like, no.
None other than
Stop.
Neil Frogert. I gotta say, Sam, I'm just gonna jump into it. His death scene was worth bringing him back.
I agree.
I was like,
100%.
yes, man. It wasn't fast. It wasn't painless. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Very satisfying.
Yeah. He said, we don't even have fire. Like, oh, you can shoot shot in the heart by flaming arrow. I was like, oh
Uh-huh.
god.
Man.
Oh, that was awesome.
I don't want to go like that in real life, but if
No.
I'm ever in a movie, I'll go like that. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Hell of a way to go. Um yeah, so we're just pretty much seeing like who all is there.
Yes, essentially all the survivors are skipping through time now on the
Yeah.
island. And I
Yeah.
guess whatever they had on them, so like the boat is with them,
Yeah.
but like the actual camp itself is gone or
Hmm.
still there in time,
It's
but
still there, but
they're
just at
gone.
a different time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh, time travel.
Wow.
So yeah. Yeah. So like everybody's going off, like trying to find landmarks, all this stuff. Um I will say like it was a little grating where it's kind of just like, look, Dan, I get it. You're a big brain and you know about time travel.
Mhm.
Us plebeians don't know about time travel. Take 2 seconds, take 2 minutes, and just explain to us what's happening so we can all be on board.
Yeah, in
You
the
know?
easiest way possible. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And then that's, with the, that's where he says with the record skip, all that stuff. And it's like, that's what we're doing, but through
Mhm.
time. And then like, okay, cool, I get it.
That was
Like,
actually a really good analogy. The
yeah,
skipping record. I was like, okay, that's cool.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, uh, yeah, and so it's kind of like we're trying, like we're settling in, especially with like the beach survivors. We're settling in, trying to figure everything out. They don't have tools, they don't have tents, like it's just them.
Yeah.
Uh Dan obviously knows something, but isn't letting on. Yeah. Which was, yeah, which I kind of knew from the start, because he's the one that has this journal, and he last season kind of teased it where it's like, him saying that like Desmond will find me or free me or something.
Oh, Desmond Hume
Oh,
is the
is my
constant.
constant.
He
Yeah.
doesn't remember it, but he finds it in his journal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. Um, and so this time around, it's really interesting because like Sawyer's had it. He's like, I don't care about any of this stuff. So he's banging on the hatch, trying to get Desmond out, or just trying to get in and get supplies. And Faraday's telling him, he's like, that's not how it works. It didn't happen before. It won't happen again. He's like, it won't work no matter what we do.
Hmm.
And it's interesting to that he's not the only one. Everyone in time travel movies say this, like, if we try to change things, it will fail. And I'm like, I think that's the wrong way of approaching it, because everyone's like, no, we're not going to fail. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. But in reality, it's like, no, like it's not the fact that you're going to fail at changing it. You need to think of it more like it didn't happen. Like if you were able to change it, it would have already happened that way.
Yeah.
That's the way you kind of think about it. You need to ask yourself, why hasn't this already happened? How come
Hmm.
Desmond didn't recognize you, Sawyer? Because if you go through with this, he would have, you know? So, but then of course, Sawyer leaves, everyone takes off. Dan stays behind, starts banging on the hatch, and he finds Desmond.
Hmm.
And he tells Desmond, you're the only one who can help us because you're the only one the rules don't apply to. He's like,
Hmm.
you're special. He's like, you need to find everyone who left the island and he says, bring them back or something. Like, you're the only ones who can help us.
Hmm.
Like, oh my God.
Hmm.
And then
Oh,
instantly, Desmond wakes up, tells Penny, and he's like, no, it wasn't a dream, Pen. It was a memory. I'm like, oh, okay. So Faraday just contradicted himself. Faraday did change things,
hmm.
So that did happen. And like, now Desmond's just remembering it. I was like, oh crap. It's kind of
Hmm.
like that movie Looper, which is very weird. And I kind of enjoyed it, but not really. But how they would, in order to punish you, Sam, they would go and they would punish the Sam in the past.
Hmm.
So as we're talking right now, present day, you get this pain in your arm and you see scars start to form because that's where they
Hmm.
tortured you in the past. I was like, dude, that's wild. That's really wild. And that's
Yeah.
kind of what this reminded me of. Like, this didn't happen, but now that it did, Desmond's remembering it for the first time. It's like,
Yeah.
that's just mind blowing right there. What's special about Desmond? Is it because he was in the hatch so long by that radiation, or
I
he's the one that turned the key? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
because he's also the
Well,
only one we've seen time traveling so far, and it was
yeah.
all mental time travel.
Yeah. Honestly, like, yeah, I think that's what it is because of the radiation and because he was able, he survived the blast, and all that. Like, I think that is why.
Yeah,
And, he was the only one who survived whatever was going on with Mikowski and the other guys on the freighter, you know?
Mm-hmm.
because they were exposed to like the radiation too, but they didn't have and they were time traveling, but they didn't have a way to hone themselves in, lock
Mm-hmm.
themselves down. Desmond did.
He did. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's entirely what it is. Like so it's not like he's contradicting himself, but he's like basically taking a chance, to say that like, oh yeah, this is gonna like you can do this. But he couldn't go to somebody like, well, it's like when Locke meets Ethan and tries to explain everything, you know, Ethan's just like, you're weird, I don't know, and tries to shoot him,
That was
so it's like,
interesting because he straight up tells Ethan, he's like, my name is John Locke.
mhm,
So, like, what would modern day Ethan think when he finds that John Locke is on this plane that just crashed?
mhm,
In his head is like, oh man, this guy time traveled somehow. Or like, especially because in season one, him and Locke, like they're hunting together. They're spending
mhm.
time together.
Maybe that's why.
Maybe that's why. But like I'm curious, like what did Ethan think about that? Is that the
Yeah.
first thing that kind of tipped him off, like, hey, this guy might be special?
I mean, could be.
Hmm.
Could be, yeah. He sees his name on the manifest, sees this guy, all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, it's nuts. And it kind of feels like we're going through the greatest hits because Locke also sees the drug smuggling plane crash.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, like he climbs it. I'm like, he climbs the trip. Like, why? What are you
Yeah.
hoping to find? Like, I don't know. Like,
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
someone's still alive. Like, I don't know. Like, we never got him. We never got a moment where him saying like, "I'm in the past," or "Wait a minute, this has already happened before." It's just like,
Mm-hmm.
let me go see if anyone's alive. Like, it was just so weird.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Anyway, Ethan shoots him in the leg, and now he's hobbling around. Oh, but Richard saves him in another time jump.
Mm-hmm.
He basically saying he's like, you told me where you're going to be and that you needed my help, but I
Yeah.
didn't. Not yet. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my god, like, dude.
uh,
So Richard and the others stayed. So people who only the outsiders are jumping then.
that's what it seems like. Now I want to know. Now I want to know about Richard because he's been.
What?
No, never mind. Like I want to know about Richard because he's been like, can he time travel?
We've seen him in different decades looking exactly the same.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm like, unless he's just like immortal, which is a completely different thing,
Yeah.
But I don't think he is. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I guess we'll find out.
He's such an interesting character too, because like he barely shows up. He's here and there. He's maybe a handful of episodes each season. But
Mm-hmm,
like every time he's on screen, like he's so captivating and we just want
mm-hmm.
to know more about him. You know?
Especially this episode, where he's having his conversation with Locke, and I'm just like, the whole time I'm watching this, I'm like, man, he was really wasted in the Dark Knight and the Dark Knight Rises.
Oh
Like,
yeah, totally.
man, he should have been like an established character, or
Mm-hmm.
something,
Mm-hmm.
man.
Yeah. He has
Yeah.
that small role in Smoking Aces.
Mm-hmm. As
You
the
know?
assassin. Oh man.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. He's like, oh
Oh,
man.
where he gets a scene with Matthew
Yeah,
Fox.
he kills Matthew Fox. He's like,
Yeah.
close your eyes. And in Spanish he says, don't let this face be the last thing you see. Heaven might hold it against you.
Ooh.
Oh, dude,
Oh
dude.
man.
Talk
Yeah.
about a cool villain,
Yeah. What a cool line. Oh
Yeah.
man. Where's that?
Man.
Put stuff like that in Lost,
Oh, also, we can't forget that this is Batman Well we're talking about.
Oh, that's right. In the
Yeah.
live action Tick. Yeah. Oh.
Yes. I was up in the water tower. I saved those cheerleaders. I saved them all night long. That's all I remember from Batman Well. I saved those cheerleaders all night long. Man. Yeah, man. This is nuts. Other
Hmm.
island stuff. I guess we kind of leave off. Everyone's separated. They're scattered. I
Oh
guess
yeah, because they get attacked at the beach. Somebody's shooting flaming arrows at the
flaming
beach. That's
arrows.
why Frogurt dies.
Yeah, I think they
Uh,
killed like 6 or 7 survivors, man. Like
yeah,
there were a couple
yeah.
bodies out there. So everyone's scattered, but then Sawyer and Juliet are attacked by soldiers.
British soldiers
Yeah, like I don't
who,
know. Like I'm trying to place the era of their uniforms, and like I don't know.
yeah,
Like
yeah. Military history
40s,
is not my strong
yeah,
suit.
40s ish. Like I'm thinking like World War II. It was kind of like that style, like, and it
Oh,
was like
maybe.
it wasn't like the dress blues. You know what I mean? It was like
Hmm.
no, they're in the field outfits.
Mm.
Uniforms. So I don't know. Like it just kind of had that vibe, that World War II vibe. Also, it was dark. It was night, so like couldn't really tell, but it kind of looked like that army green, even though army is American.
Hmm.
Like I don't know. That's what it kind of struck me as. Also, because the rifle they had was like the Garand. I think that's what you call it, which
Hmm.
is like the main rifle in World War II. Um, but of course, Locke saves the day. So I was like, okay, so that's gonna
Hmm.
be interesting.
I
Don't
think,
know
yeah.
where
I
Rose
think
and
that.
Bernard or Vincent is.
Oh man.
Charlotte's having side effects.
Uh huh. And Dan knows what's up.
Dan knows what's up. Also, she forgot her mother's maiden name, and it's
Hmm.
just kind of a throwaway line. She's like, "Dan, do you know what's happening to me?" And then it kind of cuts because Miles shows up or whatever.
Hmm.
But I'm like, does this have to do with? Because we haven't seen it much, but like they teased it in the beginning of last season. Dan has memory issues,
Mm.
like significantly. So I'm like,
That's his first scene. He's looking
yeah,
at the crash and whoever's talking to him, he's like, "What's wrong?" He's like, "I don't know."
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And throughout the season, we see more of like how he's having a lot of trouble with memory.
Hmm.
Like, okay, well now Charlotte's having some memory issues. They're in a pickle.
Yep.
That
They're in a
pickle
pickle.
is skipping through time. Man,
Time pickle.
time pickle, the
That's the episode
musical.
title right
I don't
there.
know. I was like time pickle, the musical. I don't know.
that's
Um,
that's my second album, Matt. Okay.
oh, that's your sophomore album.
That's my sophomore album. Yeah,
Yeah,
Time Pickle.
time pickle. Sam's Riot Boy era. Um, all right, so let's get to the off island stuff
Hmm.
because that was exciting.
Hmm.
It's just Ben and Jack have teamed up and they're trying to get everyone back together. I'm like,
Hmm.
man. And meanwhile, Saeed and Hurley are on the run. Everyone thinks Hurley killed the guy at the hospital, and then
Hmm.
they're attacked at the safe house. So they think Hurley killed them. Oh, because like he's covered in ketchup and he's holding the gun and he's looking down at the bodies. I'm like, oh my
And
god.
somebody takes a picture of him. I'm like, which
Yeah.
that picture was really good quality for that kind of phone.
I know, right? He
At
pulled out
that
a flip
distance,
phone. I'm like, oh man, this is dating
I
the
was like,
show.
man,
Yeah.
oh great. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh
But yeah, I
yeah.
thought I thought that was really cool. Again, budget's pretty high, so Saeed gets like a cool action movie
Dude, it was a
fight
pretty cool
scene.
fight.
Uh-huh.
Pretty brutal the way he kills that
Mhm.
guy too.
Oh man, he just like the dishwasher opens and the
Uh-huh.
knives are in the thing
Uh-huh.
facing up. What kind of psychopath puts
Dude,
their
I
knives
had
facing
roommates who
up?
did that.
That's stupid.
I'm
That's the
like,
stupidest
guys,
thing.
if you trip and fall on this thing, like you're screwed.
Yeah,
Also, it's just basic knife etiquette because, well, our family is a little old school. We usually have like wooden knives. So
yeah,
if you face the blade up, the water drips down, soaks into the wood, eventually
hmm,
wearing it out. That's
yeah,
why you always
exactly.
go blade down. But
Hmm.
also, it's easier to grab when the blade is down, so you don't stab
Exactly,
yourself. So
exactly.
I don't know, but maybe Saeed had planned that because I doubt he's doing a lot of dishes in the safe house. So he purposely planned it where the knives are sticking up, so he
That's
could
true.
kick it open and knock someone down on it.
That's true. That's true. Wow.
He's a
He
professional, man.
he really is paranoid.
Yeah,
Because
yeah, yeah.
he's planning these things out like, okay, these specific set of events have to happen to where I kick the thing down, the drawer comes out, and the knives are sticking up, and I toss a guy into it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, like me thinking like the second it opened and I saw the knives, like, oh, Saeed's gonna grab one, and then he's like holding the guy. I was like, oh no, he's gonna trip him, and he trips the guy into the thing. I was like, that was
Yeah,
really cool. But yeah,
yeah.
definitely paranoid. Saeed is not doing great right now.
No, man, he gets darted like several times,
Mm-hmm.
tranquilized.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
But
he ends up being okay.
yeah,
Jack
still being
saves him.
okay.
That's kind of what gets Jack into the schedule or into the show. Um, what am I saying? It crosses the stories. Like they need to meet up eventually, so it just that gives them an excuse to meet up. But I
Matt,
like
did
how
you just get
Hurley.
hit by a train?
I know, right? Um, I like how Hurley goes home. He goes to
Yeah.
his parents' house of all places to hide. I'm like, oh, dude.
Hey,
Uh,
Saeed's what was it? No, it wasn't Saeed. He gets told to go to somebody he trusts.
oh, let's talk about that scene, man.
This is why I texted you.
Yeah, I figured.
When I told you that I texted my brother when we got to a certain part, listeners. I texted. I was like, "What the hell just
Mm-hmm.
happened?"
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so Hurley, Saeed, like Hurley's driving, Saeed's unconscious. He's trying to like put Saeed's seatbelt on. He ends up like swerving and hits like a trash can, and then he gets pulled over by a cop. And I'm like, great, this is it. He's screwed. There's no way. And I was having this thought. I was like, wait a second. Who's a cop on this show? There's gotta be a connection. Like, is it gonna be like Anna Lucia's partner? What if it no, it would wait, Hurley sees dead people, and lo and behold, there's
Mm-hmm.
a knock on his window, and there she is, Michelle Rodriguez herself, back as
Man,
Anna Lucia. I was
my
like,
heart skipped several beats. I'm like, oh
my
man.
jaw just dropped. I think I dropped like whatever Skittles I had. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Uh yeah, it basically tells him, it's like, why are you acting like this? Calm down. You got to do these things. Don't trust the cops. Don't get arrested. Go
Mm-hmm.
do all these things. Go to somebody you trust.
Mm-hmm.
And then as she's walking away, she's like, oh, by the way, Libby says hi. And I'm
Oh.
like, oh,
Oh.
oh,
Yeah.
ow,
Yeah.
ow. Oh man. Yeah, that was wild. That kind of makes up for, them teasing me with a Mr. Echo cameo that
Oh yeah.
wasn't last
Yeah.
season. You know,
Yeah. Oh man.
yeah, wild. That
Such a
show's
good scene.
crazy.
It was so good to see her. Um yeah.
Yeah, because in my head I was like, oh, he's probably just gonna go to Jack or something, or something like that, or Kate,
Mm-hmm.
and then Kate's not gonna be at the house or something. It's like, nope, he goes to his mom and dad,
Yeah.
and his dad's watching Expose.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I was like, I want to know how they explained Nikki and Paolo not being on Expose. Or it was just Nikki, right?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
she was a guest star.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's right. All
Um
right. Well, anyway, let's stop thinking about that. Uh
yeah, man, like I love how just man, his parents are ride or die, you know. His dad he's going all the way. He's gonna
mhm.
drive. He lies to the cops. He takes Saeed to Jack, and he still even then he steps up to Jack. He's like, I don't think you have my son's best interests at heart, so stay away from him. And then the mom is just there. The line I bring this up because it's kind of interesting. The line was, oh, crap, how's it? Who is this dead Pakistani on my couch? That became like a thing. Like that was like one of the first. It's not a meme, but that was like one of the first internet things that became like an internet phrase. You know?
Really?
Yeah, yeah. And like people who didn't watch Lost had no idea what they're talking about. I'm like, oh my god. But then Hurley finally tells her the truth about
Hmm.
everything, and she's like, I believe you. I don't understand anything you're saying, but I believe you. And you're like, man, that was cool. That was good. You
Hmm.
know, it's like, oh man. So yeah, it's just it's wild. Like it's kind of weird because Hurley's in this thing. Like we get the flashback to when they're on Penny's boat and they're talking about the lie. We're gonna have to lie, and Hurley's just like, we got to tell the truth. We got. Why don't we tell the truth? I don't want to live a lie. And now Hurley's saying we shouldn't have lied, dude. We shouldn't have lied. I'm like, you don't. I think he's such a pure innocent dude, but like he's not getting it. You know,
Hmm.
like sure, Widmore. If you tell the truth, Widmore Hurley's thinking is that like he can't find the island anyway, so no
Hmm.
one's in danger. I'm like, do you want to take that chance though? The probability of him finding the island in the first place, those odds were so high
Hmm.
against him. I'm like, I don't want to take that chance that he finds it the second time,
Yeah.
you know? And also, like, who's gonna believe the story? Even if he says if someone else backs me up, I'm like, Hurley, no one's gonna believe it.
Yeah.
You
If
know, we
even
hardly
if
believe it, and we saw it.
yeah, 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 because even as he's telling this to his mom, it is like, yeah, this is so fantastical. This is so outlandish.
Yeah.
You know, like one that you guys even found like an island, somewhere. That's fantastical enough. Like, and then all these other things are happening.
Hmm.
The
Like it's
yeah,
just it
it's
wouldn't. They would all end up in the hospital with him. You know,
yeah.
they would take Aaron away from Kate, which we'll get to that later. But
Hmm.
like, there's no way this turns out well. And Ben, man, it's hard to trust Ben, but he said it the truth. He said it the truth. He said it right. He answered Jack properly. He's like, all of this is happening because you left.
Hmm.
And that's the thing, Hurley. Like, it's not because you're lying. All this stuff is happening because y'all left the island and you weren't supposed to.
Hmm.
Like, oh, damn. But then he has his, he has like his little confrontation with Ben in the kitchen, and he throws the damn hot pocket at him at the wall. And she's like, dude, I laughed so hard. I was like, he chucked that hot pocket at Ben and missed horribly. It's just on the wall. I'm like, dude, that looked good too. I was like,
I
he
know.
was heating it up. I'm like, man, I haven't had a hot pocket probably since that show was on the air. I was like, that's how long it's been.
It's been a good couple of years, yeah.
Like, damn.
Man, yeah. But like it's interesting, and I don't want to like dumb it down, but like I really do feel like when they're writing like Hurley and Ben's scene, I gotta think that like this is a dude who was reading like a Justice League comic on the plane, you
Yeah.
know? He's the guy who's always making the references, all this stuff like relating it to pop culture in a way. And yeah, it's like, yeah, dude, this is a supervillain. And I think in his mind, he's like, yeah, obviously, this is a supervillain. Anything he says, even Saeed says, do the opposite of whatever
Hmm.
Ben tells you. So it's like, yeah, man, like there is no way Hurley walks out of that room with Ben,
Yeah.
you
Even the
know?
way it was shot, like it was shot, the camera was looking straight at them. They were almost looking, I think they were looking straight into the camera for that
Mm,
conversation. It was so unsettling and uncomfortable. You know, you
hmm.
really saw the green in Ben's eyes, and you're like, we already know he's working with Jack. We know
Hmm.
he's been working with Saeed, but now we're like, I don't know if he's telling the truth or not.
Yeah.
Is he? He is, right? He needs Hurley
Yeah.
to go back. But it's just so ominous, and you're like, you can't help but side with Hurley in that moment. You're like, no, man, don't trust a thing this guy says. So then
Hmm.
Hurley turns himself into the cops. I'm like, oh
Hmm.
my God. Think he made it worse, but how could you trust Ben?
Yeah.
You know?
Really quick, I want to already call it and say the line of the episode. I don't know if we're considering this one episode or if this is still two
Two
episodes,
episodes, yeah.
whatever. Okay, well the line of episode 2 is when they're all on the boat talking about, like what they're gonna do, and Hurley says the island, we looked and it was gone. Bloop.
Bloop.
I was like, that's it. That's
That's
it.
it.
Perfect line. Perfect
Perfect.
line. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, yeah, man. So Kate has had not too much to do so far, but lawyers are coming after her, questioning, wanting the proof that the blood proof that Aaron is actually her kid.
Mm-hmm.
And conveniently, Son is in town. So
Mm-hmm.
they had a man. That talk about a good scene right there, because it's like
Oh
it's really
man.
good to see them together again. You could tell they've kept in touch over these 3 years. And they're talking about comparing notes on their kids, but Son, like, she tells Kate, you're gonna have to do whatever it takes to protect Aaron. And she's like, who do you think I am? Kate, you were on trial for murder, okay?
Yeah.
You ain't
Yeah.
kidding anyone, all
It's
right?
like,
If you're
Kate, let's
willing to
you
kill your stepdad,
yeah.
who knows how far you're gonna go for this kid?
Also, like all of the things that she's done, all of the people that have gotten killed because of Kate.
Yeah,
She robbed a bank.
yeah,
She tried to sneak into a hospital. She's doing all these things, all this crap. And I'm just like, Kate,
yeah,
this is where you draw the line. Potentially killing two sleazy lawyers.
yeah.
Like, I think out of anybody, that's probably you're morally justified.
Yeah. I was like, Kate, we know exactly who you are. I'm not judging you. I'm on your side, but I know exactly who you are.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and after the lawyers left and she started packing the bags, I'm like, that's it, man. That's what it took. Kate's running again.
Mm-hmm.
This whole time we're like, Kate is always running. She can't stay still because whatever insecurities and fears she's going through. Finally, last season, we're like, okay, she's the solid one. She's building this home for Aaron. And that's why she kicks Jack out, because he's the one who's unstable. So
Mm-hmm.
she kicks him out. Now we see, okay, Kate's back. Now she's running again. But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I completely understand why.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have thought about calling Jack. I would have called Son first, be like, Son, you're super rich. Technically, they all are, but Son's probably the richest. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Son, I need your help.
Yeah.
You know, does South Korea have extradition laws? I don't know.
I don't know. That's a good question.
Can you extradite people who aren't criminals? Well, technically, Kate probably could be considered, because they would find out that they're not related.
Yeah, maybe.
So,
Yeah. Or, whoever the client is of these lawyers could, file like for like reckless endangerment of a child, something like that at the very least, to get them back, to get them extradited. So, yeah.
Korea is a signatory to bilateral extradition treaties with 32 countries and is a party to the European Convention on Extradition. I don't know what that means.
Hmm.
It may be requested only if the offense constitutes the death penalty, life prison labor, or life prison labor / imprisonment, or imprisonment of a term of not less than 1 year. Okay, that last
Hmm.
one, imprisonment for a term of not less than 1 year.
I
That's
think,
pretty broad.
yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
I think, yeah. But Son's
I,
super rich.
all I got from that was diplomatic immunity.
It's been revoked. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the way she said, Kate, you're someone who does what she has to survive. And it flashes back to the freighter. She's like, you were going to find Jin, but you did what you had to. She's like, I don't blame you. I'm like, damn, man,
Man.
that was so good to see that between the two of them, you
Mm-hmm.
know, because we don't know where Son's head is at right now. We know she's working with Woodmore. We know she has blood on the mind because she's going after Ben. So it was nice to see this scene between her and Kate, like, hey, we're still cool,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and Yeah, man, it was good to see that, to kind of get that settled and to clear the air, especially for them because it had been 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So crazy episode. Let's see here. That's pretty much. I think that's all the big ones. Oh, I guess, and there's the last scene that we were talking about.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah, that's kind of a huge scene.
yeah,
Speaking of comic books, this feels like a comic book right now. You
dude,
know,
yeah. This
this
lady
this
like beneath the church
mm-hmm,
with like
has a
some kind of pendulum thing.
a weird pendulum that's like like drawing lines on it, and it looks like it's just doing like a big like kind of like star kind of looking thing,
Yeah,
but it's in relation to like the ocean.
yeah, and then this old school like '80s computer.
Yeah, yeah, very much like the one in the hatch
Mm-hmm.
or in the hatches. And she's trying to do an equation or whatever. And correct me if I'm wrong, is that not the angel woman that Desmond saw? Okay,
Mm-hmm. The little clock lady.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the little clock lady, who I guess it makes sense because she's got a giant pendulum clock thing trying to figure
Mm-hmm.
out where the island is, and she's in league with Benjamin Linus.
Yeah, and what happened in that episode? Like she knew someone was gonna die, right? And they watch it happen.
Yeah,
Like something falls on the guy.
yeah.
He's like, "Why didn't you save him?" She's like, "He can't. He can't. It's always gonna happen." I'm like, "Oh
Mm-hmm,
crap."
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Desmond's whole thing that episode. He was gonna stay. He was gonna
Yeah.
stay because he's like, I can change it this time. It's gonna be different. And she's the one who tells him, no, you can't.
Hmm.
It's always gonna happen like this.
But now it's interesting because what Faraday's saying is like the rules don't apply to Desmond.
Mm-hmm.
So can he change it?
I think he can.
I think he can.
I think he can. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. Dude, so here's what I was thinking. That was okay, and that was cool, and then that's where we get where Ben tells her, he's like, I lost Reyes. She's like, well, do what you have to get him back. You have 70 hours to get back to the island. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my God, 70? Holy crap.
Mm-hmm.
That's less than just under 3 days. And he says, what happens if we don't? God help us all. Everyone's so damn dramatic in this show, man. uh
I mean,
I,
it would be weird if, it's like, well, what if we don't?
we're fucked.
I don't
Oh, okay. Cut to commercial.
know.
So in that scene where she's on the computer typing stuff in, looking at the pendulum, I'm like thinking, man, this was like late 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
So like 2008, 2009. But they're using these old ass computers.
Mm-hmm.
What if they just upgraded? Like, we don't need the pendulum. We just need an eMac. Remember those things?
Yeah.
I'm like, those things were like early 2000s, mid 2000s. I'm like, you get an eMac with like the
Mhm.
see-through like lime green color.
Yeah.
Pop it down there. It would really contrast well with the dark blue of the map.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm like, there you go. I could have
Yeah.
told you where it was days ago, you know?
Yeah, I mean it's funny you mentioned that because I just the other day I was watching Ang Lee's Hulk,
Oh,
and
yeah.
at the very end of the movie, there's a scene where Jennifer Connelly's in her lab, and yeah, there's an eMac computer just right there, and they're running tests on it, and I'm like,
Wild.
man, I remember that. What the
So
man,
cool, man.
how
Especially
times
the
have
color
changed.
ones.
Yeah.
Everyone was always like, we wanted everything see-through. The Emacs had like that clear plastic.
Mm-hmm.
The Nintendo 64, the original one was just solid gray, but then they had like the clear ones.
Mm-hmm.
They started doing that with all the Game Boy Colors. Like you can get
Mm-hmm.
it in color, but then you can get like the see-through
The
one, so you can
see-through
actually
one?
see
Yeah,
through the
yeah.
plastic and see all the little mechanisms. I'm like,
Yeah.
what was our obsession with that? Like, I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah.
It was cool though.
I say we bring it back.
I said this. I just saw this video. It's like one of those like Instagram pages that like feel good, make you feel good, and it was this old man, probably 80s, and he got his first pair of light up sneakers, and he always wanted them. So he's looking at it, and then like he touches it, and they light up, and he's like, oh, and he like yells, he's like, oh, and he's laughing. He's like, I've always wanted these. Like you and me both, sir. You and me both. So
I love it.
Yeah. Well, this is a pretty long episode, man. But we had fun, and it was technically 2 episodes. So,
Exactly. So the
um,
people got their money's worth.
yeah. Last things we got to say. Let's see. Richard, before he sends Locke further on his time traveling journeys, he's
Gives them
like,
a
"You,
compass.
yeah." He gives him the compass. He's like, "You need to bring them back, the ones who left." And he's like, "How do I do that?" And he just looks at him. He's like, "You're gonna have to die, John."
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "Oh, damn it!" I'm like, "Oh, what the hell does that mean?"
Yeah.
Ah, yeah. Um.
Here's my thing. I know
Mhm.
you already said this, but little short tangent. This is why I just let people talk. I don't like to
Yeah.
interrupt people, unless it's
Exactly.
like you and me and we're like, making points and be like, oh yeah, but
Hmm.
wait, stuff like that. But like, if it's something important, I just shut up. I'm like,
Yeah. It's like, John,
mm-hmm,
I'm telling you the important parts. I'm
mm-hmm,
telling you the parts that you need to know.
mm-hmm.
Shut up.
Okay, got it.
Like, ah.
Yeah, yeah. It's like it's Sawyer's being all, hunky and alpha male and like
I did like how he
I'm gonna do
slapped
this.
Faraday.
He just slapped Faraday.
It didn't even seem like a hard one. It was just enough. Like we've
Yeah.
seen Sawyer punch out people. Like he just slaps him enough to get everyone to like, oh, okay.
I was
It's
like,
like,
wow,
oh, damn.
okay.
Yeah. So, yeah. MVPs. This one's kind of tough because I feel like kind of an ensemble. Like there wasn't really ever like this is what I feel like this is why it's like technically a two-parter because it is the premiere. It's an ensemble episode. Like there was no lead character through this.
Dang. That is true.
Although Michelle Rodriguez did steal the show.
That is also true. Yeah. But I was just gonna say, like, I think I want to give it to Hugo.
Okay.
I want to give it to Hurley. Because
Okay.
yeah. Because even the scene where he's like talking to Saeed, on the boat, and like there's so many like
Oh,
dramatic shots and dramatic
yeah.
moments in this episode with Hurley, along with all the comedic stuff that I'm just like,
Hmm.
this this is an actor right here. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
Hurley's been Hurley's been like made fun of. He's the butt of jokes, blah blah blah, all this stuff.
Yeah.
But we forget how like how hurt and how messed up Hurley is.
Yeah.
And when we get scenes like that, when we get moments like this, and we get so many of this episode, I'm like, this is great,
They're
man.
giving like these first 2 episodes gave him a lot of good material.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah. All right. So then we're giving it to Jorge Garcia and Michelle Rodriguez
There
because I
you
want
go.
it.
Okay.
Okay. Predictions.
Oh boy, I don't know. It's a lot. We're still this early season. We're only 2 episodes in.
Yeah.
Uh, I feel like I just got a feeling just because it's a long 3 years is a long time. I think Sawyer and Juliet.
Mm.
I bet they're gonna have a close shave or two, as it were. Yeah, a situationship. Cuffing season lasts 3 years for them. So
I
yeah.
wrote they have a close shave. Okay. Yeah, and also because like if you think about the main cast, they're kind of the only ones there with the rest of the beach survivors.
Mm-hmm,
You
mm-hmm.
know,
I mean,
Locke shows up at the end, but
Frogert was throwing his hat in the ring, and I was like, I guess I can try and ship,
yeah,
those two, but no,
no,
no.
Frogert's gone, thankfully.
Frogert's gone now, thankfully.
So
Uh, yeah. I don't know. I feel like it's just kind of the obvious stuff. Like Dan obviously knows what's going on. I feel like
mhm.
that's gonna come to a head pretty soon.
Mm,
I don't remember how many episodes this season is, but
mhm.
I just feel like we're gonna start seeing the true depths of what Daniel knows and what he's willing to do or
Mm.
not do.
Yeah.
You know, uh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's it. That's all I
Well,
got for right now.
it was fun. It was a killer start to the season, man. I'm
Mm-hmm.
excited. So everyone, join us next time as we talk about season 5, episode 3, Jughead.
Ooh.
Desmond tries to find someone who can help Faraday stop the island skipping through time. Meanwhile, the remaining Islander survivors discover who has been attacking them. Hell yeah. Guys, as always, you can find us online. Use hashtag Lost Legacies. I don't know. Are we gonna try Threads? I'm gonna give it like a week or two. I want to see who jumps on Threads.
Sure.
There's a lot of people jumping on, and like, it's kind of cool. I kind of like the concept of it. It's like mixing Instagram and Twitter, except with less news. So I
Yeah.
don't know. I'll see. I already have a ton of friends on Threads, so like,
Mm.
like that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But it's meta, so it's like it's mixing Instagram and Facebook, all into Threads.
Mm.
Someone posted, he's like, I signed up for Threads, and I saw pictures of all my friends on Twitter and on Facebook, my friends and family, and I thought, oh no, no, the things I post aren't meant for you. We can't do that here. Like, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So I'm still on Twitter right now at _Matt Jimenez, and I'm on Instagram at Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch. Oh, that's the thing too. I think you need to make your new username on Threads.
But or you can port over your information. So you
Yeah.
can port over your name,
Right. But
your
it just
bio.
feels
You can
kind
do
of
all
weird
that.
because I came up with the Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch like 10 years ago. When I first made my Instagram, I'm like, oh, that's kind of funny. And it stayed. And I think that's why it's like, oh, that's a cool name. But if I deliberately set it up again on Threads, it'd be like, all right, Matt,
Oh, so you want to
calm
be
down.
different, huh?
Well, I don't. I want to keep it, but I don't want people to think I'm reusing the joke. You know what I mean? Like,
Wow.
oh,
Okay, I get it.
yeah.
I get it.
So what about the Instagram people who don't know me in real life? They're gonna get on Threads and they're like, who's this guy? I don't know any Jimenez's.
That's true.
Block.
Yeah.
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 Oh well.
And you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads, I guess, at Real. That's REEL Texas Weirdo.
Yeah. Well, technically, you do have a Twitter still, but you're not really on it anymore.
No, I mean, yeah, I'm trying. It's, so technically, I was locked out of my Twitter and I forgot my login information. So I was free. It was great. I wasn't on Twitter for like 2 days, and I felt so much joy. And I didn't realize how much joy I felt until I managed to get back into my Twitter, and I was on it for like 10 minutes, and I was upset. And I realized I was upset the whole time, and I was like, close, put down my phone, and then I did something else, and I was like,
exactly.
Okay, cool.
Did you hear all that about the whatever exceeded the usage limit of Twitter? Like,
oh yeah,
it's limiting it.
Yeah, so unless you're signing up, unless you're subscribing to Twitter, you get like, I think it's like 300. You get to look at 300 posts a day.
Oh wow.
And then there's like, I think there's tiers too. So it's like you can pay to get like 600 posts, and then you can pay to get unlimited or something like that.
Sucks.
I'm never paying for Twitter.
Me either.
That has been recorded and that'll be put out in a week or so. So it'll be real canon, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm never gonna pay for it. I'm never gonna pay for a social media app.
Same.
So yeah, there you go.
But,
I'm using the free stuff, and you can find me on all of those.
Yeah, but you're also talking to the guy who like maybe looks at 6 tweets a day. You know, I'll look at the stuff you send me. I'll check on the stuff I'm posting, and then I'll scroll for like, I find 1 or 2, and I like it, and then I'm off.
Dude, honestly, that's how I am with Instagram.
Yeah, I know.
I go at least like a month or so without going on Instagram, and then I look at the stuff that you and a couple of other people send me, and I'm like, all right, I'm done.
I try to send my brother 1 cool thing a day on Instagram, which I thought is That's not bad. One a day. But
Yeah.
Sam doesn't get on for a month. So I'm scrolling through. I'm like, oh my God, there's like 30 things that I've sent Sam that he hasn't seen. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, and then he'll get on and send me something, and just those 30 are gone.
No.
Like tears in the rain.
Exactly. Exactly. So choose wisely next time.
I only curate the best for my brother, okay?
That's true. And I appreciate it
Damn
every
it.
time.
Anyway,
The one-
guys.
the one time I get on, the one Saturday every month, I'm like, ooh, yeah. Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm, mhm.
Hit us up, guys. Hashtag Lost Legacies. Just try it everywhere. You'll find us.
Mhm.
Until you do, don't forget to get lost.
Get lost.